There is this mosquito flying around, and I really want to catch it. So, welcome to my channel. If you haven't yet, please like, leave a comment, and most importantly, please subscribe. And today's topic, we're going to talk about storyboards or storyboarding. Okay, I had this question come up, and they were asking me when they receive a brief and the agency gives them a board, do they just stick to that board, or do they change it? That's an interesting point. Because think about it. Yeah, because I mean, the agency, they've probably spent quite a number of hours putting together this brief, like this idea, this concept, right? And then because they work with a team of people and then they put together this board, and then for someone like us, like directors come in and they change it, you think they wouldn't want this, right? But it's quite the contrary. In most cases, like 90% of the time, the boards that you the original board is usually pretty basic. Like it just basically, like, the shots aren't so dynamic, and um it's just pretty straightforward, so that me as a director, or whoever's looking at the original board, can understand the flow and the message of this video. And I guess this is where the director comes in, and he kind of puts his little spin or his look to it. I mean, I might be a director that's good with transitions, transitioning from one scene to the next. Or I might be a director that goes for more cinematic spots or has a real focus on art direction. Um, I might be a director that it has, my strengths might be in visual effects, and so I might add another element to the original board. I think most agencies, they want to see what the directors can bring to the table, instead of the director going, okay, this is good, and then just sticking to the initial board. The agencies want to see what the director can come up with. And then from there, if they see something, and as long as it's not too crazy, and they see something, they're like, oh, this idea can work. Like, we had not thought of this, then you might have the chance to win the project. So yeah, I feel that yeah, the board that you are given is not locked off. It's basically there for you as the director to have your take on it, your spin, your vision. In many cases, I change a lot of stuff that's on the board. Like, of course, for brands, or I guess this would come from the client side, there are certain areas that you don't touch. This is like their signature, like, for example, could be the way the bottle is presented, or so, especially like the product shots and stuff. This part you don't touch. You shoot it the same way as what's presented on the board, but everything else, the storytelling part, or how the actors interact with the other actors, etc. That part you can change, or even like how the camera moves, the camera motion, all that stuff. Yeah, you could change all that to your taste. And I guess, I mean, if you as a director is chosen for this particular spot, they've chosen you because they like your style, so they want to see your spin, your take on on the on the concept or the idea. By all means, when you get the board, change it. But what's important is that during the brief, like when the agency briefs you and tells you about the idea, this is the best time for you to ask questions. You ask questions like, "Can I do this? Is it possible if I do this?" Or "What do you think if you know what do you think if I did this? Or should I try this?" And see what they say. And if they are open, then yeah, by all means, go with what you think's gonna make the board even better than what the initial board is. Yeah, so basically the initial board, the board that's created by the agency, is not locked off. You can change it. You can add cool camera movements or cool transitions, or add certain effect elements to it to enhance it. How do I approach a board? Now let me just try and think how. So usually, I mean, when I approach a board, I try to keep the initial structure intact. I may add a certain element which changes things a bit, but you know, I mean, that change is not just because I think uh this change isn't there just for the sake of it. I add it because I feel perhaps it would enhance the overall storytelling or yeah. So in most commercials I would keep the structure, but I would change obviously the camera angle and how we transition, all that stuff. And and like I said, I may add in an element or two that changes it up, like enough for it to look or feel different from the original idea. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And storyboarding, it's really good to, I mean, the clearer your idea, the better. So not in all cases, but in some cases where I have been able to grab video references and like stitch it up, like edit it together to better show my idea, and that's been super helpful to the point where I've won jobs because basically the idea was there almost frame by frame. I chose the exact kind of angle or camera movement I wanted. I chose a specific transition, yeah, and added the music and all that stuff to make it look like it's almost like the finished piece, but it's just that the talents are changing all the time. But anyway, it's basically to especially for here, they really want to see how it's going to end up looking, because sometimes they can be unsure of how it's going to look. Like when they look at the board, they are still unsure if it's going to work or not. I don't know why, but you have to understand that, like, even with comic books, when you see a comic strip, when it's translated to video, it's different. It's not the same. Like the flow of it can be quite different, and even can be quite drastically different. In some cases, I would try to um get video references, stitch it together to make it look like the spot, and then they will have a better idea. And for them, they would feel a lot more, I guess, a lot more comfortable. They'd be like, okay, I can see how this can work now since you've showcased it. So yeah, and usually the storyboard process occurs after the job is awarded in most cases, but um, sometimes in your treatment, you might want to point out like which area you think it can be enhanced, and you explain, like maybe it's a certain frame, it's a certain sequence within the frame. You feel that okay, we should add this part because it creates more intensity, or we should have it's instead of the camera cut to the next scene, let's make it more interesting by giving it a whip pan to the next scene, so to give it more camera motion, to make it feel that there's always movement happening within the video or within the sequence. that's it. So again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you're a Patreon member, however, yeah, you have access to me. And what's good about that is that if you have any questions, if you're not sure about something, I'll be there to help you. I can also, for example, um, I had a member who was unsure about something, and then um, he wanted to see if I can send him a past treatment that I had, and so yeah, I was able to help him with that and send him one of my old treatments, and it was extremely helpful for him. So yeah, become a member and yeah, take the opportunity. It's now or never, you know. And again, if you want to kickstart your career, take every opportunity in this, especially in this industry where it's super competitive. Grab my ebook, $5 only. It's titled "The Only Book You'll Need to Become a Commercial Film Director," and I can't stress this enough. But it's a book that I wish I had when I was, when I start off in this journey. And I have to say, there's a lot of things like when I look back, a lot of mistakes I made, a lot of things that I was like, I wish I knew that. Like I wouldn't have wasted so much time, or like I wouldn't have stressed so much about this if I knew this. And yeah, my everything's there in this book. I have tips and yeah, just my experiences. And yeah, it's a good source. It's a good book to have, especially for those of you who want to make it into the commercial industry. And I tell you, man, the commercial industry is fun. It's ongoing. It's not like working on a short film or a movie where short films don't really help with income, right? So, I mean, commercials, it's an ongoing thing, and it could be your not daily job, but it could be your main source of income. And it's fun because you get to play with all the toys, you get to play with all the big cameras and sets and crews and lights and all that stuff. So, yeah, dope, man. If I mean, making it into Hollywood, like making feature films, yeah, may and still might seem like a far off, distant future, but in the meantime, you can really hone your skills and yeah, work on commercials. And there's some really cool commercials out there, like visually stunning commercials, and it pays the bills. And yeah, it just helps you become a better filmmaker as well at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. It helps you to become a better filmmaker. Like I have to say, I've matured a lot since when I started making commercials till now. Like I've learned so much and built relationships where I've worked with some of the top DPs and top art directors, etc., etc., and traveled to different countries. So yeah, make that leap, become a member of my Patreon, or buy my book, $5. And again, for those of you who aren't aware, I'm in the process of finishing up my passion project, and I'm almost there. Haven't quite finished, but yeah, I need some funds to help out. And so if you can help out, you can go to my website, aswahan.com, and there's a donate button. Yeah, any amount will do. It would be a big help for me. So yeah, follow me on my socials, especially on Instagram, Aswa_Han. And until then, I'll see you in the next episode.